welcome from me, Cristina and Rowan, to this webinar about Marketing Organic, the Consumer Insight Report. My name is Cristina. I'm the MD of UK Organic, and it's formerly known as the Organic Trade Board. For those that are not familiar with UK Organic, let me quickly introduce it to you. Organic Trade Board changed its status into Community Interest Company and its name into UK Organic to properly reflect the work and mission. We aim to be the not-for-profit marketing agency for organic in the UK, while also acting as a consumer association, helping consumers in making informed decisions, and at the same time also raising awareness of organic. UK Organic is truly independent, inclusive, and represents all UK certified stakeholders. Within our board, we have a host of experts, and also we can count on the expertise of the CEOs of Soil Association certification and OFNG. We aim to represent all the UK certified stakeholders. As the hub for sector collaboration, we focus on 4 key areas, but these are not all the work that we do. We work on consumer insights and report, and we aim to be the leading expert on consumer knowledge and behavior. Our comprehensive research and reports will guide our marketing activities and activations, but also serve as valuable resources for the sector. And the report that we're talking about today is one of the examples. As already mentioned, we work as a marketing agency for the sector and intend to work as a PR office for organic. And again, as a consumer association. Lastly, we closely work also with trade, retailers, to develop strategies that grow the organic market. Anyone interested can join UK Organic. You can join as a fellow supporter, there's no cost, and you will receive valuable benefit in return. And you will help us grow in the movement of organization with the same interest and the same passion and the goal of raising awareness of organic. For those organizations seeking a more direct involvement, there is the option to join as affiliate supporter. There's a small annual fee based on turnover, and affiliates can participate in our working groups, contribute to our campaigns and activations, help share the UK Organic direction, shape the UK Organic direction, help collaborate closely with us and also other affiliates. And affiliate supporter receive an enhanced benefit package. Some of the benefits, you can see them on our website. I encourage you all to join us fellow today. There's no cost. So please just join us and you will receive our newsletter and tools and all the communication. And we will be also more connected with the rest of the industry. If you're interested in becoming an affiliate, there's a nice announcement that we have from January 2025. We have a new lower and more inclusive fee. And whoever is joining now, whoever is filling the form now to join us will benefit from the new fee. So please, if you have any question, just ask. You got our contacts there and also the QR code that will send you directly to the page for joining. And now I'm leaving you with Rowan.
Yes, sorry also those who are familiar with our work. I'll just give a quick overview of ORC and what we do and how we're linked to this work that we're doing, that we're sharing with you now. If I can have the next slide. So we were founded 40 years ago. We are a small organisation of about 20 researchers, research communicators and administrative staff, and our aim is to produce reliable research and data that can help with the transition to sort of low and no input systems and help farmers on their way towards more organic practices. And we do a lot. We've got 17 live projects at the moment, so this is just sort of one of what we do. So if you're interested in our wider work, please do visit our website and get in touch with our team. And the next slide, sorry. We research across 5 themes that include crops and breeding, livestock. We do some food systems research, and we also research agroforestry. And I represent our business and markets team. I say it's a team, it's actually just me at the moment. But anyway, our goal within this research team is to we look at these questions of how we create a fairer food supply chain. So we're involved in various projects related to that. We're also interested in market opportunities for the organic sector. And we also try and collate figures around the sort of best practice and management in organic farming to produce the Organic Farm Management Handbook. And what part of that handbook, there's a whole chapter on market, the organic market. So the findings from this work that we're going to present today will be feeding into that chapter as well. And I'll just give a quick overview of our Marketing Organics project, which is why we're here today. And it's very much as a result of the sponsorship of our key supporter, John Payne. And it's a 2-year project looking to identify routes to growth in the organic sector. And there's 2 elements to it. One is learning lessons from abroad and what's working well abroad, and how we need, what kind of changes we may need to make from a policy or an infrastructure perspective. And then the other arm of this work is looking at understanding the organic consumer a lot better, and how we may be able to bring them closer to organic products. And yeah, it's just been a fantastic opportunity with this funding to produce data that's related specifically to the organic sector, because the way the kind of funding environment is right now, we're often having to fit into other kind of wider priorities. So yeah, just to say, this has been a project that's all about organic, and we're really happy about that, and happy to work with Cristina and UK Organic on this.
Let's start with insights. Back in 2023, UK Organic conducted various consumer research projects. And at the end of the year, we wanted to start a more comprehensive, a deeper project on consumer research. And we found the perfect partner, and Organic Research Centre. We decided to share resources, maximize results, and the result is the report that we are talking about today, and has been shared with the industry. So it's over 90 pages, which is freely available to anyone interested. And that was a decision that we took together as an Organic Research Centre, because this needs to be a valuable tool for the whole industry. Today, we're going to speak about some of the insight, because as I said, 90 pages. We are going to just look at what we think is the most important, and what is about more about the consumer profile and the insight to help marketing and awareness activities. The report has been developed, as I said, in a partnership within Organic Research Centre, UK Organic, but it has also been possible thanks to the contribution and support of Sustain and If You Care, and also thanks to a number of other key players to whom we are truly, truly grateful. Rowan.
So I'll just explain a little bit the kind of aims and objectives that sit behind this work. So we were really keen to not rewrite the wheel. We wanted to build on work that UK Organic had already carried out, and you developed this concept of organic actives, active organic shoppers and organic considerers. So we wanted to add a lot more kind of detail to that existing framework. We also didn't want this to be a publication that would come out and sort of in a year's time, when the data's kind of lost its freshness. The academic kind of process for peer-reviewed research and publication is quite lengthy. So we wanted to work directly with the sector, so that results, even if they're sort of trends and indications, could be used there and then whilst they're fresh, to inform market decisions this year, essentially. And then we also we wanted to get a clear idea of kind of future research that we could do as well. So identifying potential markets to explore in more detail, and give a bit of direction to kind of more in-depth qualitative work that we'll do after this. So the report itself is based on a survey of 2,000 respondents, and used a market agency panel of I think 40,000 respondents to get that sample. So we hope it's a true reflection of the UK population, and at that size we're a lot more confident in the kind of margin for error with a sample that size. And we also wanted to fill in gaps with the start of our qualitative research program as well. So we conducted 20 qualitative interviews to kind of support our findings and look to explain, uncertainties in the data in more depth. We also carried out a very extensive literature reviews, about 50 publications. We prioritized kind of meta-analyses of literature to try and get a sense of where research had got to as well and how that can feed into our work. And the result is, of course, we've got lots of data kind of looking at the whole sample and how the organic market sits within that, and a bit more of a breakdown according to different income groups. But then we've also tried to show how other kind of beliefs around sort of food issues and food relate to the organic sector. So we have a section on that. And then we also try to provide a segmentation of the organic market. So just kind of building again on that actives and consider a breakdown, adding more detail to those. And then we've also produced 18 product category fact sheets. So this is looking specifically at people who have bought a particular product category and trying to understand the motivations behind why they've bought that category and what generally interests them about organic food and products. So I'll just, before we go into the findings, I'll just stress that it's a really large data set and we've tried to cover it as best as we can, but if there are more ideas and new ways that we can work with organizations in the sector, we welcome any ideas and do get in touch. Cristina.
Thank you. So let's start looking at the first insight. From the report, 67% of respondents to our survey, they declared that they intentionally purchase organic products. It is essential to emphasize the term intentionally. This is different from other reports, like, for example, the Kantar report that gives penetration data at around 85% with consumers buying organic products. In that percentage, they might not be accurately a reflection of the consumer intention. Products might have been purchased by mistake or because there was no other choice. In our case, almost 7 out of 10 shoppers, they set with the intention to buy an organic product. And that's very important for us because we got this 67% organic shopper. And it gives the rejector just above 30%. Unfortunately, this high number, 67%, doesn't really translate into a large market share. If we look at other European countries, we see like Denmark at 12%, Switzerland at over 10%, Germany and France at around 11%. So with such a high number of consumers intentionally looking to buy organic, but a small market share, we need to ask ourselves what's happening there. So that's why we look into understanding more their behaviors, their intentions, their perceptions, the barriers, the motivators. So understanding these shoppers, these 67% shoppers, is the key to grow the market. So who are these organic shoppers? We ask these 67% shoppers multiple questions, and we managed to identify 5 different groups. These 5 groups are part of our 2 other main groups that we already identified in a previous research in 2023. We're calling them organic actives and organic considerers, and this depends on the engagement with organic. Organic actives represent less than a quarter of our organic shoppers, and are those who regularly shop in 2 categories, the regulars, or who actively buy in 4 or more categories, and the enthusiasts. And health, quality, trust are the main reason for them to choose organic products. They also display deeper passion for cooking, especially the regulars, and are information seekers, especially the enthusiasts. And they're also more likely to follow a special diet. And we look into this in a deeper way in a few slides. On the other side, we have the organic considerers group. They represent the majority of our organic shoppers. And here we find the occasional, that they buy an organic as a treat for special occasion, when the value is understood, or just from time to time. Then we have the deal seekers, that they mostly buy organic. They would like to buy organic, but they buy mostly when the price difference to non-organic is reduced. And lastly, we do have the reducers. These are the consumers that are now less engaged with organic due to the cost of living crisis. In a broad generalization, and please look at the report for more information, we could almost say that on the left side, consumers are younger, and on the right side, going towards the deal seekers and reducers, there's a higher disposable income. Rowan.
Yes, so just to say we've done some further analysis, and we identified there were differences in shopping behaviours according to these market segments. So these are percentage values of shoppers of each product category that we looked at. So we looked at 18 in total. These are just the food ones. We looked at 4 non-food categories as well. So just to bear in mind that they're obviously percentages of standard size, but obviously you get something like home textiles, and the subsample would be about 1/10 of what you would have for fruit and veg. But if you look at these relative values, you can see that the deal seekers, there tends to be a higher proportion of each of these markets would tend to be deal seekers when it's kind of the more entry products like fruit, veg, dairy, and then as you progress more into slightly more niche organic product lines, you get a greater proportion of enthusiasts. These are the people shopping for 4 or more categories. So what's starting to come out, and we can expand on this a bit more is later in the talk, but there are certain products that seem to be good indicators of more dedicated organic shopping that we wanted to draw out in this report. Yeah.
And when examining motivation for purchasing organic products, to be honest, there are no significant revelation compared to previous research. We see a long list of reasons to buy organic. They're all perfectly valid. They are all different depending on the consumer that we are talking to. But if we think, for example, at a label like fair trade, for example, if we ask a consumer why they buy fair trade, what do we look for, the list will be probably much shorter, or even if it's a longer list, it will still be focusing on fair pay, fair treatment, and ethical practices. And when we look at a reason to buy organic, we can see that there's different reasons. And one important point to look at is the fact that reason to buy organic, they can be both intrinsic and extrinsic benefit. So, and this is reflected in the reasons that show also complexity. However, this complexity is often leading to confusion. Organic is something for a consumer, is something else for another consumer. We need to look at this complexity, this confusion as a strength of our sector. No other label, no other certification can claim equally benefit for consumer, the planet, the individual involved in farming, and also the production. So if we look more at these reasons to buy organic, we also see another trend through the different research over the years. So it's becoming increasingly clear that organic shoppers are primarily motivated by intrinsic benefit nowadays. This is in contrast with a few years ago when there was a focus on extrinsic benefit, the better for the planet. There was a growth into the number of ecoactives. That has changed in the past couple of years, and we can see that the main reason is better for myself, better for my family. It's also important to note, however, it's also important to note that when we delve deeper into the reasons to buy organic, into the motivation to buy organic, there often appears to be a sort of superficial understanding amongst shoppers. They are not fully aware of the implication and risk associated with synthetic pesticides or the specific higher production standards, or, for example, the meaning of GM. In other focus groups outside this research, we ask a group of shoppers what is GM, and they didn't really know what it was, but they knew that it was not great, and buying organic, they could avoid it. For instance, there's another common misconception, even among organic shoppers, that washing produce, perhaps with bicarbonate of soda or other specific cleaning products, they can effectively remove harmful chemicals and pesticides. So the work is challenging, and we need to simplify the complexity of organic, using that as strength, and channel the benefits into a simple, powerful message that we can use to communicate with consumers and increase their awareness. Rowan, you might have some extra insights through the qualitative research that you did in this project.
Yeah, so just to say we recruited our qualitative interview participants according to how well they fitted the different market segments we mentioned previously, from the enthusiasts through to sort of reducers. Yeah, they more or less pretty much back up what Cristina was saying, how that, you know, with the enthusiasts, you were seeing quite a strong sort of ideological alignment to the organic sector and its values, and quite a strong awareness of all of these issues, and high agreement with why, you know, why they choose to buy organic on the basis of all of the issues we've provided them. And then as you moved sort of through the different market segments, they would become a bit more about sort of general concepts to do with the environment. Interestingly, sort of pesticide usage was fairly understood across all of the different groups that we spoke to. And then one additional factor that came out of that work was product freshness, which we didn't include in the survey, but was very interesting. People associate organic with fresh, and we'd like to definitely explore that concept later with some more research.
Thank you. And looking at barriers, so again, there are not many surprises here compared to previous research. However, we can have some further consideration. We can categorize the responses into the three major groups that we are all familiar with: price, availability, and awareness. There are a couple of responses that are under social barriers, but at the end, we could also include them in the awareness category, because the underlying issue is ultimately a lack of awareness. It is interesting, however, to note that these social factors appear to be of limited significance, and at the start of this project, we actually thought that would have had a stronger impact. We would have seen them a little bit stronger in this list. So looking at availability, that plays a significant role. Organic shoppers often actively seek to overcome this challenge. However, awareness, confusion, and lack of knowledge about organic products need to be addressed. We just saw it with the reason to buy organic. This confusion is complex. So this is where UK Organic aims to assist by dissipating the confusion and, most importantly, unifying a message that resonates with consumers. Through the research and the previous project, we can affirm that under the right condition and with the appropriate messaging, consumers are open to purchasing organic products or increasing their organic purchases, regardless of income and price, because they are aware of the value and of the benefits. For instance, again, even price and cost. When we asked focus groups and we explained the value of organic products alongside the long-term cost of non-organic products, the barrier was somehow mitigated, and we could see a sort of switch and a sort of willingness to actually buy organic and understanding more what it stands for. So in this context, we could also argue that the price is also somehow linked to awareness. Again, Rowan, you did conduct quite a few interviews, so if you have anything to add.
Yeah, just to add that the enthusiasts we spoke to, organic enthusiasts we spoke to, were, you know, for them, organic certification was the red line, and, you know, sort of quite, they would often be looking to go, in their view, beyond that. So, work, you know, shopping directly with what they would describe as local and agroecological organic organisations, and that they either knew sort of personally, or lived in close proximity to, or were personally involved with as well. So, you know, from their perspective, the price was very much accepted of organic goods. But then when we're talking to people who are buying it on occasion or preferred to buy it when it was on offer, you see a much greater kind of ambivalence between, you know, their agreement with organic, and, you know, we were surprised at how kind of low those social barriers were for a lot of people. We kind of went in with the wrong kind of idea about that in the first place. But they, even though there's high agreement with organic, there would be lots of other factors within their lifestyle that may prevent them from buying more. And it could, it could be often having to account for the needs of others in their household, both in terms of the volume of the shop that they're doing, but then also specific products that others may want that aren't necessarily available in organic. So yeah, coming out of the qualitative research, we were really interested in what strategies in kind of more dedicated organic shoppers were putting in place to make organic work for them. So we're hoping to expand the interview program and start to collate those strategies to come up with some sort of practical suggestions in terms of how to bring organic products closer to others in the market as well.
And looking at the shopping behaviors, organic shoppers display a more flexible and diversified approach to where they shop. On the contrary, non-organic shoppers, the rejectors, tend to shop at a limited number of outlets. They are not so interested in the food they buy, or they are happy with the outlets where they are shopping. They don't tend to look around to find the best option, or possibly to find what they would like. So we can assume that this versatile approach where to shop is a way for organic shoppers to overcome the availability barrier. Looking more in details, we can see that approximately half of organic shoppers prefer a combination of in-store and online shopping, and this is twice the rate of non-organic shoppers. Online platforms are viewed as a mean to access a greater variety of organic products, and there's a real opportunity here. And we saw also from other reports, like from Soil Association certification, that this is an insight that we should really take in consideration. Over half of them also regularly visit independent shops, and they are significantly more likely to visit refill stores, market, farmer shops. In terms of retailers, organic shoppers are 5 times more likely to shop at big online retailer, and they're twice as likely to shop at premium end retailers. They find these retailers offering a more diverse selection and of quality organic products. So we can assume, as I said, that organic shoppers are more likely to shop in a variety of locations to meet the needs to overcome the availability barrier. However, this does not translate in a higher frequency.
So we also wanted to examine the effect of income and spending restrictions on organic shopping. And this was, of course, an interest of mine and Cristina's, but it definitely was driven as well by Sustain, who worked in the early stages of developing the survey. And they were interested in our findings, particularly for their Bridging the Gap program, which, for those who aren't aware, is a fantastic program looking at 10 different interventions to try and get healthy and sustainable food, or improved access of healthy and sustainable food for communities across the UK experiencing low incomes. So yeah, they were really keen on how the findings could inform their work there, and we were really glad to work with them on that. So we developed a low income subgroup sample that we started that with those earning less than household earnings of less than 25k a year, and then we used a formula to incorporate more into the subgroup based on the number of children in the house, their housing situation and location in the UK, and then that came up with about 670 in the subgroup sample, and then we compared that to those with a household income of 50k or more a year. And in terms of just a general overview in terms of shopping behaviour based on what we examined that Cristina was explaining below, we didn't find much difference between the lower income subgroup and the whole sample at all. And then, sorry, the next slide, Cristina. But what we did find was that income wasn't seemingly affecting the amount that shoppers said that they were engaging with different organic products, but it was affecting how they were engaging with organic products. So we found when looking back at the motivations and the barriers that the lower income groups tended to have a lower agreement than the higher income groups with the motivations for buying organic. And then they would also have a higher agreement with the barriers, whilst the higher income groups would have a lower agreement with the barriers. But this didn't actually seem to be reflected in the amount that they said that they were buying different organic products, which I found quite interesting. So there was, and then we also looked at kind of shopper preferences and more issues around food that kind of go beyond organic. And we found that the higher income groups had quite a high agreement with those preferences, and the lower income groups again had quite a lower agreement with those preferences. And again, this isn't necessarily translating into more organic or more engagement with the organic products that we surveyed. There was one common factor that stretched across all income groups, and I think everyone can probably agree with this, is that everyone wanted to see value for what they were spending money on. I don't think anyone wants to be ripped off of at all. So it does reinforce the importance of the organic sector to kind of really show that the value of the products that it's marketing. So yeah, we looked at at these two groups in a bit more detail, and we applied our market segments across, sort of layered them on top of the different income brackets that we surveyed. And the most interesting finding, I think, probably for me of the whole report was that the most dedicated shopper group, the enthusiasts buying four or more products always as organic, had the greatest proportion of those on less than £25,000 a year as a household. And then the next kind of more obvious difference is you can see here that the deal seekers, they tended to come from more middle income and higher income households. And then in contrast to that, the people who prefer to buy organic goods on occasion, like the suggestion we gave was for a special treat, that has a slightly higher proportion of middle and lower income households. Next slide, sorry. So yeah, just to kind of reiterate what I was saying before, that we didn't, in terms of stated engagement with different organic products, that we provided 18 different product categories. It's a fairly similar engagement at a kind of top level, as with the low income group and then the high income group. And the main differences tended to be around those kind of higher value items like red meat or alcohols was when we saw supplements and other well-being products. And this was kind of, we further saw this in those that said they always bought organic alcohol, for example. They tended to be much more likely to be from a higher income household. But at a sort of top level, generally engagement remained quite similar across all of the product categories we looked at, irrespective of income group. Thank you.
We look at different angles to gain a better understanding of the awareness around organic products. We further examine consumer from a different point of view and identify 6 main types of shopper based on their primary shopping drivers. All of these shoppers, they engage with organic products, and for each profile, we also identify the reason for purchasing organic as well as the challenges for organic products. So, for example, regional preference shopper, they believe that local products are equal or even superior to organic products sourced from further away. While their desire to support the local community is commendable, this can also lead into the not conscious purchase of products grown with, for example, harmful pesticides. Because the regional shopper, they often mistakenly associate local products with being more natural and fresher. We are not going to go into all these profiles now. There's a lot of data and there's way more in the report. But it's worth to look that combined with the other organic shopper insights, this serves as a valuable tool for marketing organic products and tailoring messaging to resonate with different groups. The takeaway today, I would say that from all these profiles, there is one common thread. And amongst them, there is this focus on the intrinsic benefit. And most the most important one, the most relevant one is the focus on health benefit. Health-conscious consumers, as well as the information and trust seeker, and also the ethically conscious shopper, they clearly value the health benefit of organic products. So organic meets their demands for healthier, cleaner, less processed, high-quality goods. And ultimately, with the right message and motivation, we can also appeal to the other groups. Here I'm sharing also a recent research by Nielsen that supports our finding that we started actually seeing at the beginning of 2023. And this shows that consumers are increasingly prioritizing their health and wellness, while concerns related to the cost of living appear to be diminishing, hopefully. Looking more on the focus on healthier diets, there is a clear link between purchasing organic products and dietary preferences or requirements. Consumers, we know now, they're increasingly aware of the importance of healthy and nutritious food. Almost half of the organic shoppers that we identified at the start of the report, they follow a special diet. In contrast, fewer than 20% of non-organic shoppers follow a special diet. It's worth noting that a special diet includes those diets due to allergies, intolerances, but also diets that are considered healthier options, like vegetarian, less processed, better for your gut, and others. A very interesting point is that this is about all the 67% of organic shoppers, but if we zoom in, we can see that the organic enthusiasts, the organic enthusiast segment present even a deeper link with the special diet. Over 50% of them, they are buying products because they follow a special requirement and they have special choices. The enthusiasts, I remind you, they are the 10% of organic shoppers, and they are those that are buying in 4 or more categories. Their primary motivation is health concerns, and they're followed by environmental consideration. Most often is also a mix of the two. A significant proportion of these enthusiast shoppers, and I'm looking at 74%, they choose organic products because they are free from pesticides, harmful pesticides, and they believe they primarily benefit their health. 71% responded that they are less polluting. 71% they said that they are of superior quality, and additionally 69% believe that organic products contain more nutrients and are safer, cleaner, and less processed. So this indicates that personal health is a key factor in the purchasing of decisions and habits for this small core group of organic consumers. Rowan.
Yeah, so finally, the last section of the report, we've tried to hone in on product categories and the shoppers of each product category, and to try and produce, some indications and trends that could be useful more at the product level. So we produced 18 of these fact sheets. For each of them, we isolated people who said that they had bought those fact sheets and looked at. We used our kind of the market segmentation to show sort of how that sort of market is structured. So, you won't be surprised to see, obviously, there were, with the more entry-level products, there were a lower proportion of enthusiasts. And as you get into more niche products, you get a higher proportion of more dedicated shoppers. So we provide that in each fact sheet. We then single out what the main motivations for those shoppers were for buying organic goods, and then more specifically what shoppers of that what seemed to chime most commonly with shoppers of each of the subgroups for each product category, and try and detail a few of the sort of specific shopping preferences that shoppers of each category had. So there's obviously lots of the respondents may be in multiple subgroups that we analysed, but it helped us get a sense of some of the trends that you'd see across the different product categories. And I've tried to summarise them a little bit here. If we could go to the next slide. So I started with the kind of what we pretty much know as the kind of many of the entry products for people into the organic market tend to be the lower cost items, the staples that people buy every week. And you can see here that this is of the entire sample, of the 2,000 sample, nearly half at some point had bought organic veg, so 45%. And we found, kind of going back to those motivation factors again, that the most agreed with statements tended to be those kind of top level statements that everyone else agreed with. But then when you look a bit more specifically at what the subgroups were interested in, they were much more likely to be reading product labels and information provided with the products. And they were also interested in the quality and purity of the foods that they buy. And one thing that came out that I found quite interesting was that there was a fairly, between sort of 50 and 40% of the different age group categories I've provided there. It's fairly similar across fruit and veg, but you can see it getting lower with age, engagement getting lower with age, and sort of the dairy products being more appealing to those aged 18 to 24 and 25 to 34, which I found quite interesting for this sort of product cluster. Next slide, sorry. We also looked at organic meat and shoppers of organic meat, and this, in terms of where this sits in the wider organic market, so 1 in 3 people who said they bought organic products had bought organic meat, both red and white meat products. And the main motivators there were higher animal welfare, which we won't be surprised about, the prohibited use of antibiotics, routine use of antibiotics, sorry. And more generally, they perceived organic products to be healthier and of better quality. And then when we looked at the differences between red meat shoppers and white meat shoppers, you can see that the red meat shoppers were more likely to be in favour of the statement we provided, which was that I have a passion for cooking, whilst white meat shoppers tended to be a bit more focused on value for money and interested in local food. And this, if we think back to the income brackets that we looked at earlier, this was reflected very much in the shopping behaviour according to income as well, where lower income households are actually more interested in organic white meat than higher income households. Sorry, next slide, please, Cristina. We then I've just combined 3 product categories here as sort of processed goods, basically. So ambient grocery, pre and part cooked goods, and pantry staples. And these represent a smaller percentage of organic shoppers. But a greater proportion of those are organic enthusiasts and regulars. So they're buying a lot more items as organic. The percentage of their shop is more organic. And you see here they were highly likely to be buying other items like vegetables, dairy, and meat. So over 70% of them were buying organic fruit and vegetables as well. And for quite similar reasons, I found, but one motivation that seemed quite specific to shoppers of these groups was that they were looking for brands and products that demonstrate clear and honest values. Next slide, sorry. Looking at drinks as another product cluster. So part of this was we looked at people who bought soft drinks and people who bought organic alcohol. And again, it's a smaller percentage of organic shoppers who had bought these. And what we found was that people who were buying organic drinks tended to want to read more about the product before they purchased it, using the labels and information on the product. And they would also like to know the origin of those goods. So it indicates that there's a strong attention to provenance. And then, interestingly, we've found that factors like income or age were having a much greater bearing on these product categories. So organic alcohol tended to be bought by much more likely to be bought by people on higher household incomes, whilst and then interestingly, nearly a much greater percentage of younger shoppers were buying organic soft drinks, nearly, I think I've put 1 in 5 here, and that tapers all the way down to just 3% of older respondents buying organic soft drinks. The last slide, I promise. This one was looking at some non-food products as well, so organic clothing and textiles, and organic home textiles actually had the highest proportion of organic enthusiasts within that subgroup. It was nearly 40%. So that's compared to, you can see fruit I've put here. This is regulars and organic enthusiasts combined at around 20%, and nearly double. And the main motivations here was that they felt the environmental impact of organic products was lower, and they were also looking at for products which were better value for money. One of the options we actually gave respondents was that they bought organic because there was better quality and better durability of organic products, which applies a lot more, I think, to clothing and home textiles. And interestingly, they were more likely to state that they would buy products based on recommendations from people they trust, like friends, family, or influencers as well, which I thought could be quite interesting. And the final slide, sorry, Cristina. And just to emphasize, sorry, we wanted to use the findings of the report to see if there were any alliances that could be built between different product categories as well. So this is just I think it's easier to see this in the report, but we've created a heat map showing the overlap between shoppers of different product categories. So obviously there's quite a strong one with fruit, veg and dairy, because lots of people are buying organic fruit, veg and dairy. But you can, when you examine it in more detail, you can see there's some more interesting links there. So pantry staples, for example, overlap quite significantly. People are buying lots of pantry staples. They're also buying lots of organic chocolate and confectionery as well. So it's just to try and stimulate some conversations basically between different organisations working in the sector.
One interesting insight of this map that surprised us a little bit, it was the baby food. Baby food category doesn't have very strong connection with other categories when has been used often in previous activations from different marketing activities as a entry, as a hook for keeping the consumers. It looks like baby food stays on its own, and perhaps the consumers are then moving into their normal products unrelated to the baby food, to the organic baby food purchases. Concluding this webinar, awareness is key. We all know that, but this report helped us, this research helped us in identifying where we need to work, or what are the areas that we need to work on the awareness in raising awareness. We saw that even among organic shoppers, there is confusion. There's different reasons for them to buy. There's some sort of superficial knowledge. So we need to strategically build the awareness. We need to unify, simplify the message. We need to start from what motivates most of the consumers to buy organic. And here we're looking at the intrinsic benefit, and even more into the specific, into the personal health and special diets motivators. And from there, we can build like a sort of a Lego strategy, adding the other reason, the other benefit over time once the first message, the first solid message is solidified. We all know the challenges that, for example, we cannot really specifically say organic is healthier. However, even the less informed shopper can understand that no harmful pesticides and synthetic chemicals are a key to a healthier diet, which also has long-term positive value for ourselves, for our families, and for the planet. Rowan, anything to add?
Yeah, just to add our findings around the effect of income on organic shoppers, and that it's not necessarily preventing greater engagement with those households on lower income, and what we've found is the results, they're very useful from a policy perspective as well, and we can try to work with other groups to show that organic food is a really good mechanism for getting sustainable and healthy food into wider society. So yeah, just to say, we're not just interested in sort of working with commercial partners, but also with advocacy groups as well. And I'd welcome any ideas and suggestions from those people too.
So this comes to the conclusion of the presentation. Again, this project was by the Organic Research Center and UK Organic. Here you have our contacts. If you have any question, me and Rowan, we are available to answer. We will do our best. And if we can answer all the questions that you have today, we will try to come back to you in a second moment. But now I think we can move on the panel section.
Yes, so I hope you'll get a bit of a break from our voice. I will flag Cristina's actually got a cold. Well, thank you so much for soldiering through. But yeah,
in my accent and the cold, I must have been a pleasure for attendees. Sorry.
And just say we're really happy to have Julia joining us from Better Food Traders. Julia has a background in journalism and strategic comms, and was immensely helpful at the start of this programme when we were developing the consumer survey, and then in my earlier conversations before this part of the work took place, getting a bit of direction from her as to what was needed from a retailing perspective was really helpful. And when the results came out in full earlier this year, we worked closely together to develop some headline takeaways for retailers as well. So she'll be adding a bit of perspective from a retailer perspective to our chat later. And then we were also really pleased to have Leslie from Officially Organic joining us. And I'll let both panelists present their own work in their own words, but Leslie has a wealth of experience providing it's a very comprehensive platform for organic brands, and also an experience working with non-food products as well that we would find really valuable. So we'll stop sharing our screen. Perfect timing. And we've prepared, if people have specific questions that have come out of the talk, they please put them in the chat, and then we'll have time through this panel session to answer those. And now I will ask, yes, I will just give each panelist, to start with Julia, just 1 minute to introduce themselves and their work, and then to share a few reflections they have on the report. So the first question we were going to ask was, were there any findings in the report that surprised you or were unexpected as well? So yeah, Julia, if you would mind taking a minute.
Right. Yeah, so I head up the organisation called Better Food Traders. We're basically a support network and an organisation that really works to promote and support independent retailers that are focused on getting organic produce to market. So our members include farm shops, urban shops, farmers markets, veg box schemes, and in fact we also now include some bakeries and some wholesalers. So a real diversity of traders who are all working to increase organic products getting to consumers, really. And we were really interested in this research, obviously, to sort of look at where we are today with consumer attitudes to organic. And what we have done, the toolkit there that Maria has dropped into the chat, is we wanted to kind of take all this dense and fascinating data that Rowan and team have produced and slightly pick through it from a retailer perspective. So that toolkit is tips for retailers, and it really focuses on how shops, probably shops in particular, bricks and mortar, can think about marketing and working their merchandising and so on to kind of optimize for organic. But to answer the question on what was most surprising, I mean, there are a few sort of counterintuitive things, but I think definitely probably most surprising is the idea that, yeah, organic shoppers really are not the sort of she middle class, people of a certain age. I think the revelation that it's a much younger generation who are the sort of committed organic buyers, and that those people in turn are more likely to be on lower incomes and middle incomes and to be renters and kind of single or young families. It really, I think, bashes through that stereotype. And I think as retailers or as brands, that's a really important thing to remember. You know, if you're building a shop experience, a retail experience, and you want to appeal to that organic demographic, you do need to start thinking younger. You do need to think about how that follows through to your whole brand and your whole kind of shopping experience. The fact that so many people were willing to buy multi-channel and buy from a diversity of retailers rather than just the kind of standard supermarket shop also shows you, I think, that it's that younger generation who's a bit more comfortable with buying online, researching online, and then, you know, buying in store. It's that sort of messy middle where people's shopping behavior is not just one thing. And I think you see that much more in the kind of younger consumer. I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much. And Leslie, if I could ask you to introduce your work and also respond to the question, you know, what findings from the report surprised you? And yeah, that'd be really good. Oh, and you're on mute, sorry, just to flag.
Yeah, Leslie Cowell. I'm actually the co-founder of two organisations. The first being officiallyorganic.co.uk, which is a platform which now comprises of over 500 brands and outlets, all situated in the UK, who are certified organic, or they have a product range that is certified organic. We span, coincidentally, 18 categories, from organic skincare to organic beds and everything in between. So in view of that, we are specialising in amplifying the messaging and promotion, education of certified organic produce and products. And for that, we actually, I think, are focusing on trying to bridge the gap between the perception of higher priced premium organic products and also bridging the gap between that with offers and discounts that our sponsors are actually promoting, and their availability. So that's pretty key in that area. The educational aspects are actually quite interesting, because with our own research, we've found that although we always want to be positive about organic and being organic, it's often the negatives that attract more engagement and attention, especially on online promotion, advertising, social media. Like, for example, buy organic, it's better for you, which is a positive statement and can be backed up by the fact there are no pesticides contained within the products, as an example, versus do you really like consuming poisons? Now that gets a lot more attention, yeah, than the positive. And it's proven with engagement that we've seen in social media promotions that we do for our members. Coming to the other area that I'm also a co-founder of, which is organiccosmeticscompany.com. And we're actually wholesaling and retailing now directly a range of skincare, cosmetics and beauty products. And we've gained an awful lot of experience and understand the motivations in that particular sector as to why people are either changing to organic and the drivers that are causing them to change. And quite a lot of these people either want to prevent what might happen if they consume conventional non-organic products in their body. 80% of everything that you put on your skin is absorbed into the body. So again, there have been lots of issues around things like sunscreen. where organic cosmetics, organic sun cream is now taking over sales in our experience from conventional sun cream products that have been proven to be very harmful. That's just one example. We have also a lot more examples of where people are not only wishing to prevent problems in the future, but because they're actually also receiving guidance. In particular, an app has taken over and become very popular called the Yucca app, which actually gives a rating as to the quality of food produce and skincare, etc. And that Yucca app is now being recommended by many doctors to people who are treating oncology patients and so on. So in terms of my appreciation of the report, sorry, I had it on mute. In terms of the report, I agree with the previous speaker, Julia, that we have been surprised by the shift in emphasis and age group that has been identified as being the more proactive towards organic. I find that very interesting. And it may change our marketing a little more now as a result of it.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I just yeah, really great to get as a growing up on a farm. I've been very much sort of food focused as my route into organic. This work that I'm doing, but yeah, this particular project's been a real eye opener as to the kind of breadth of the organic sector in the UK and learning. Particularly from sectors abroad, it's where organic is much more successful. There is this full sort of lifestyle range available to shoppers there. So yeah, it's going to be a very important part of the movement going forward. So yeah, thank you both for your first thoughts. And I will provide another question whilst we wait for some audience questions to come in. And I'll invite Cristina as well to comment on this, because I'm very much research focused. It's really great to have these voices from the industry itself to comment on the work. So the next question I had for our panelists was, which insights from the report do you believe are the most valuable or actionable for the industry? And I'll start with Julia. We'll keep a nice system going, shall we?
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think the health and wellness trend is a trend that we've seen amongst our Better Food Trader members, and you can see it across lots of other consumer research. And health and wellness is one of those trends that chimes with what Cristina was saying. It's an intrinsic benefit. It's what's in it for me. Like, how does it benefit me? How does it make me healthier? How does it make me look better? And, I think, I don't know, it feels like that's sort of in step with the times we're in, perhaps. We're in these kind of slightly dark days and slightly, sort of pressured financial household finances. And so products have really got to kind of appeal to that what's in it for me question. But on that kind of health and wellness trend, it's, I think it's interesting to see how that plays out in the different categories. And obviously, in different types of food, you can talk more about, pesticides and that sort of aspect of health, or you can talk more about gut health or nutrition. So, and as Leslie was saying, with beauty products, you've got, again, another set of sort of messages that you can deliver. But I think that's a really important one to put, to put front and center when you're thinking about brands, but also about retail. And just to add to that, I think one of the interesting things for me about this research is that real link between the more dedicated shoppers being less committed to the supermarket. For me, it's a question of chicken and egg, though, right? So are you more likely to not go to the supermarket because you want that other range of products, maybe? Or if you're more likely to be the kind of person that rejects the supermarket, are you then going to be more open-minded to organic and other, so I don't know what the answer to that is, but it feels to me that part of the problem with supermarkets is they are never going to put front and center in their branding, most of our products are made with pesticides and harmful chemicals, because they know that that's going to discredit a vast amount of their product ranges. So there's this sort of, there's something about how do we slightly, discredit the supermarkets, move people away to other ways of purchasing, other forms of retail. And that's where you can then start to land some of these other messages that really resonate around health and wellness or whatever it is. Okay, I'll leave it there.
If I can add to that, from our different focus groups and qualitative research, we found that it's more a matter of availability. So the organic shopper can't find that specific product in the main supermarket where they usually go. So they are more willing to go to the independents or online or directly to the brand, because they really want that. They are committed, like we said at the beginning, they intentionally purchase organic. So it's the intention of finding that product that, from our first focus groups, is moving them away from spam retailers or the usual shopping and moving it into different type of shoppings.
I suppose then you think, well, what if we could persuade supermarkets to just stock a much bigger range of organic?
Everyone should stock more organic.
Exactly.
Thank you both. And then Leslie, I don't know if you had any thoughts on this question.
What is really interesting, and we've been with the organic cosmetics company business, we've been operating for nearly 3 years. But what we've noticed is how important customer referrals have become in growing the business. So, that what we found in your report across, I think, quite a few of the sectors is that recommendations from trusted sources, i.e. people who know other people, are actually recommending for them to come and use the products that we provide, which is a very important part of the growth. And the more that we can actually get recommenders out there, people who can influence other people, I think is probably the one of the best avenues to obtain and develop growth. So whether it's if you have an online outlet and you do referrals, incentives to encourage other people to try the products or produce, whether supermarkets can come up with some kind of loyalty scheme, then maybe that could help. There are lots of other options. But I think those recommendations are important. And obviously the Yucca app that I referred to now is breaking down the barriers to education about what are excellent products, what are good, and what are poor.
Thank you.
By the way, I get no compensation for promoting Yucca. It's just a very beneficial tool of education.
Good to know. Yeah. Okay, I think we could turn.
Question from the chat.
Oh, yes, please. Thank you.
And Sam, who's a Riverford organic farmer, he asks, did you find anything in the qualitative or quantitative data between cooking from scratch confidence and organic engagement take up? So that's the first part of his question, and I'll put that to both Rowan and Cristina, because I think that covers data as well as a consumer element, if that's okay.
Yes. So we did ask respondents to the survey what their cooking from scratch frequency was. We didn't notice too many dissimilarities between those who had bought organic products and those who hadn't. So, we are, do you cook 1 to 2 times a week from scratch? Do you, all the way through to 5 times or more a week? But the main difference in terms of cooking was we found organic shoppers were much more likely to have answered that they to state that they had a passion for cooking and liked exploring high quality ingredients for their cooking. And that definitely came through in the qualitative work much more strongly than it did in the survey data. So, you know, for a lot of the more dedicated organic shoppers in the qualitative work, cooking may be literally a hobby that, you know, they might perform as a couple, or you know, they would have a very extensive range of recipe books. I actually got people to show me the books off their shelves and things like that, which was quite a good way of understanding where they're coming from in terms of cooking. Whilst I found the people who responded saying, you know, that they preferred to buy organic when it was on offer, or when they would buy it from time to time as a treat, often were facing a few more maybe restrictions at the home when it came to cooking. There might have been cooking for people who, you know, had quite specific things that they liked and things they didn't like. I think we call them fussy people, if I'm honest. Or they would be fitting it in around quite busy schedules. Or one really interesting thing that came out of that work was around the amount that people ate. Often people who do a lot of exercise and particularly bulking in the gym require huge amounts of protein. So an organic chicken, you know, it can be very expensive per kilogram. So that kind of ruled that option out. So I hope that, in terms of our findings, that's where we've got to so far.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Cheers.
No worries.
So we can add, that the fact about the special diets, when the consumers are talking about less processed, organic is seen as organic products are less processed for our consumers, and they tend to buy that when they are more engaged with it.
Cristina, second part of his question was also about imagery. So did you also find that showing sort of like care and taking in sort of like showing hands in imagery and sort of like showing a small scale sort of like growers, that really, did you find that from your side of the fence that it made organic more appealing?
We did.
Sorry, just on that. So it was actually just more an insight we found, less a question, but it would be interesting to know if you found the same thing. We just did a big qualitative project, and we just when we show people our website, we're a direct customer e-commerce business who sell fruit and veg. When you show people like hands and imagery, and you talk about small scale producers, it's kind of a way into organic, because irrespective of whether you have low awareness and low education, people just care about care. They want to feel like they're being taken care of. But yeah, it would be interesting to know if you guys found that.
We did conduct, I would say 3, 4. Top of my mind, this was a year ago in 2023 when we started all the consumer insights research. We did conduct 3, 4 testing, campaign testing with all different images, and looking into what the organic shoppers were engaging more. And as you can see in our cover, there's one of the pictures that resonate more with all the testing, and was what the organic consumer was finding more appealing, more close to them, like the lady with the child. Yes, we find that putting a personalization, a figure, like something that you can identify with, is resonating more with consumers. We need to do that. That was a research from now a year and a half ago. So based on this report, we are gonna conduct new testing and new campaign and imagery testing to see if it's still the case or has moved slightly, and at the same time also with the messaging.
Okay, I do have another question, and I think this is quite well weighted to be in, not that it should be a large answer, but this is from Stephanie from Sustain. So as I said, I think this is probably a good one for all of you to kind of like chip in on. And her question is to increase organic consumption, is the work now to push mainly the health well-being message and have the detail on the enviro-farmer perspective in the detail, or try and still put the spotlight on the enviro-farmer perspective? Does the consumer need to know the full picture?
So the challenge here is to simplify. As we saw, organic is a lot. Organic is complex. Is the good and bad of organic because it's challenging as to put together a marketing campaign to say everything about organic. So what we need to do is to look at all the different profiles, all the different consumers, and tailor for them. What we saw is the common thread at the moment is the what's in for me. That should be the entry message, the first message that we communicate to consumers and we hook them into organic. They're not going to forget all the other aspects, especially the environmental benefits of organic. And we could use that probably more with, for example, the ethical shoppers. What is good that we need to tailor the different messages to different audiences, but maintain one common. I call it brick. Is the first brick, and we need to consolidate that. Then we can tailor the other messaging depending also on the category that we are trying to advertise or the consumer that we are trying to talk. Over the years, we need to make sure that we add all the bricks that are organic, that are what is organic in all its benefits.
And anybody else wish to make a comment?
Well, just to say, I've recently was at the Organic World Congress in Taiwan and speaking to a lot of other people working in this space from other countries. It was really interesting to hear that they conducted similar research in Taiwan, and I spoke to someone from a very large producer organization in India as well. The hook there for them is environmental factors, and that seems to be the main reason that draws people into the organic market there. So yeah, I think these findings are very kind of UK specific, and we're going to have to find our own way, really. We can learn as much as we can from other nations, but our population is our population.
Before I move on to another question, Leslie or Julia, do you have anything else to comment? I think, Julia, you might have commented on the chat on this answer already.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of echoes what Cristina said, is you need to know who your audience is. The consumer, the customer just is meaningless. It's millions of people. So what's your segment? Who are you trying to speak to at any given time? And I think, I think the environmental message, it does work really well with people who are kind of environmentally committed. But I think we just know that in this country, we're not the same as Europe. We're not the same as other countries. And that just doesn't resonate in the same way. I'd say the other message that always does resonate with people here in the UK is local. And you touched on that in some of the data. People feel really strongly about local, even though we have such a kind of weird, slightly destroyed local food culture. We don't have the sort of the cheese in every town that you get in like Italy or France or whatever. But people do feel really strongly about local farms that they know of, local cheeses, local wines. That is really important to people. So bringing a kind of regional dimension to things and bringing in the farming aspect, I think not so much necessarily through an environmental lens, but perhaps messages around, fairness to farmers. Again, that's quite powerful at the moment. And talking about farming and enhancing nature and things, but through this kind of local lens, I think is a useful way to frame and market things.
Again, regarding local, we need to raise awareness on that, because we said there's this misconception that a local product is equal or better than organic, when actually unconsciously the consumer might buy a product that is not as good as they think because it contains synthetic chemicals, or it could be simply local but made by a bigger company that they don't really know about. They perceive that it's a local market. So we need to work on that awareness as well. Like, it's local, but is it organic certified? There's a lot of consumers that they think that by buying at a farmer market, that's organic. simply because it's on a display, on a nice display in a farmer market. And that's the awareness and misconception that we need to work on as well. We need to make sure that certification is also understood.
Okay.
I think maybe we could learn from how, for example, ultra-processed foods, which has got into the limelight and gained very rapid traction in the market. Maybe we can learn from how that's occurred and how that's happened, and translate some of the reasons why that has gained a lot of traction and interest, in terms of people now wanting to avoid produce that contains ultra-processed food. Not just, of course, the bad health implications, the obesity that it leads to, and so on. But can we learn from that and translate how that has achieved rapid success in meeting and engaging with consumers, and translate that to our organic mission for produce and products being organic? And I don't know if there's some research that we could do to see why the story about UPFs has gained so much traction.
Okay, thank you very much. I've got another question, which is from Rachel. She doesn't say from where she's from, but this is probably pointed to you, Rowan, because this is about research findings. So her question is, was there any difference was any difference evident in the data between each of the 4 UK nations, so England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland?
That's a really good question. We haven't included that breakdown in the report because at a very top level, I didn't see many differences in terms of the kind of broad categories we offered in terms of shopping behaviour, frequency of organic bought. There was, in terms of sort of regional differences, I don't think anyone would be surprised to kind of hear a slightly stronger performance, or not performance, but more kind of organic being bought in the southwest and southeast. That's kind of quite historical anyway in terms of distribution of organic farms and businesses across the country. But we didn't really want to, because there wasn't strong enough differences. We didn't want to kind of, and this report's all about being showing indications and trends that then businesses can go on and use to develop their own ideas. We didn't want to, draw inferences that didn't really exist. So we left kind of those regional differences at bay. In the qualitative work, where we could explore this in a lot more detail, it was interesting to hear. We had quite a few from Scotland and Northern Ireland joined our work, and they mentioned, or definitely those in Scotland mentioned that more rurally they were struggling with availability of organic goods to a great extent. But I think we need to kind of explore that subject a lot more before we can kind of publish shareable findings from that. But yeah, just some indications from what we've found so far.
Okay, thank you, Rowan. There are some thoughts and comments on the chat, which I'm sure everybody can see. There's obviously just there's some comments about marketing, that we have to be cautious about health claims in the market space. There is that's from a lady or gentleman from Soil Association. So if they are on here and they wish to expand on that, they're more than welcome to come on the screen and expand on their comments if they'd like to. But that is it. I don't have any. I do actually have a follow-on question that's just actually come in, which is a follow-on question from Rachel, which is if no differences in the 4 nations, was there don't you just hate it when a pop-up comes up and you can't read that word? Differences in the 4 nations, was there any difference between the rural versus urban versus city demand for organic?
We only offered a regional option to select, and that was just to ensure we got a coverage of participants from across the whole country. So I couldn't tell you in terms of whether they lived in the city or not, but that would be really interesting to explore in further research. But again, yeah, going back to the qualitative findings, which I'm very glad I did, because it does add that kind of richness to the survey data. Yeah, just very different. The organic shoppers that were part of those interviews, often, if they were more dedicated organic shoppers living in rural areas, the proximity to a local farm shop where they can buy directly was very common. Whilst in the more urban areas, you would get respondents were making things work for them by using things like monthly subscriptions and veg boxes, and getting bulky items delivered to their house, but then they can go off and do sort of one-stop, little shops where the costs are slightly lower because you're buying fewer items, which I found quite interesting. But yeah, I think both topics that Rachel's raised would be good to explore in more detail.
Okay, well, as time is running on, I think we just need to probably think about concluding the Q&A. So thank you very much to the panel for answering all of the questions. Thank you to everybody for your questions that have submitted them. If you do have any further questions that comes to you that you would like the panel to ask, please, even while Cristina rounds up, you're more than welcome to put them in the chat, and we will do the panel will do the level best to answer them when we put the webinar up on the YouTube after. So now I'll thank the panel for answering the questions, and I'll hand back to Cristina.
Thank you. Just to add on the couple of comments in the chat that you mentioned before, in our test testing and our other research, we found that yes, probably it's better to avoid carrying campaigns that work with a segment of the organic shoppers, but it wouldn't resonate with a wider audience. We will do further research on that when we are looking at briefing agencies and preparing the new messaging and new campaign. On the other side, yes, we can't say organic is healthier. We already mentioned that. There are ways we can say no harmful pesticides, no synthetic chemicals. We cannot say no chemicals, which I've seen also by other organizations abroad, that they say no chemicals. Water is a chemical, so we need to say no harmful chemicals. But there are ways to make understand consumers that organic is a healthier choice. We just need to be careful on the wording, and for that we have been working for years with the Soil Association, and they have a helpful guide on that, and I think has been put in the chat. And yeah, we will continue to make sure that we are on right message.
And just to add to that, actually, what I found working with the various organisations working in the sector was, to market things, you have to offer a solution to a problem. So there's definitely a chance for other kind of adjacent industries to actually raise what this problem is, so that we can provide the solution. So we need to kind of build those bridges as well, particularly with those working in the media, as much as possible. So once those problems are out there, I think we can start offering organic as a solution as well.
And we probably already asked if you have any suggestion of what we should include in the next research. We aim at updating this report every couple of years, but perhaps every year we should look into some deep dive. And if you have any suggestion what we did miss, for example, the regionality or other aspects, please let us know. From my side, just need to say thank you for attending, and thank you for downloading the report.